Hey, how's it going, guys? Domino Paris 21 here, and back again with yet another new deck profile for you all. So of course the deck I have to present to you guys is my Ancient Dragon Tachikaze deck. Ancient Dragons, of course, originating from Set 11, bringing forth some new support for Tachikaze, which is something that they definitely needed for quite some time now. Ancient Dragons, from what I've been experiencing with it and testing with it, definitely a nice fun deck to play, and it's really a very underrated deck, especially when it comes to tournament play. Because I feel that, you know, this deck has a few good perks going for it that's really good, and that can really make it unique compared to other clans, and really in the hands of a very capable player. I mean, I could definitely see this deck making a nice big scene in a lot of tournaments. So yeah, I say definitely it's a nice fairly cheap deck to play, so definitely worth picking up if you have the spare cash. So without further ado, let's actually get to it. So first off, for your starter, you have your Ancient Dragon Baby Rex. Baby Rex, very good solid card for this deck. What he does is whenever he's sent to the drop zone from the rearguard circle, you can counterblast one and superior call a Tyranno Legend from the deck, being grade 3. Keep in mind that if you have a grade 1 or grade 2 Vanguard, you can still use the skill, so that's something you want to keep in mind. But yeah, Baby Rex is really good because something to keep in mind too is that you can still enable the skill if you just simply replace him with another booster. Because I know a lot of players who I've been testing this with, they thought he had to be retired by an actual skill, which is actually not true. So definitely really good, you know, to get a nice 11k beater if you need to, and he could definitely open up a few plays with some key cards in this deck. To maybe even enable extra attackers or just get more beaters out on the field if you don't have any. So really good solid card for this deck. Now speaking of grade 3s, you have your 4 copies of Ancient Dragon Spinal Driver. A really good solid break ride that fits very well in this deck. So what he does is whenever you ride a Tachikaze unit over him, you retire 2 Tachikaze rearguards and draw 2 cards, and then Vanguard gains +10 in a crit. So of course he does share that similar Vanguard skill of Jewel Knight Ashley, who has the reputation being like arguably the worst break ride of gaining the +10 in a crit. But what's nice with Spinal Driver, of course, is the fact that he allows you to draw cards. Now, on paper, being it by retiring 2 units and drawing 2, you're essentially replacing them, and you're kind of just breaking even in that sense. But combine it with cards like the starter here, which can actually replace himself to bring a beater out, and another key card in this deck, which you'll see in a little later on, that can just allow him to replace himself as well. It can definitely lead to nice little plus plays. But the fact that he can just allow you to simply draw cards, really love it. A lot of fun to use. And Spinal Driver, of course, the idea with him is just simply try to just break ride over himself as much as you can to try and wear down your opponent, because obviously, you know, the extra crit that he gains is very annoying, can be very pressuring, especially if your opponent doesn't have either multiple perfect guards in hand through the course of a few turns, or simply just don't have the adequate amount of shield to handle him. You could definitely be opened up for some late game pushes. So one card, of course, that does enable you to make some late game pushes is your 4 copies of Ancient Dragon Tyranno Legend. He's a fairly underrated card for his respective clan. Tyranno Legend is a very good capable card that really fits well with this deck, I feel. But what he does is Limit Break 4. Whenever he attacks, you retire 3 Ancient Dragon Tachikazes. That's important, Ancient Dragon Tachikazes, and he gains +10 in a crit. Now, of course, you can combine with Spinal Driver and try to like one-shot your opponent by giving him like +20 and 2 crit, but it's very risky to do because obviously, you know, perfect guards do exist. But the fact is, of course, like I said, once you wore down your opponent by break riding Spinal Driver a few times, either you pretty much you know, fished out all those perfect guards and, you know, important shield cards in their hand, they could definitely be opened for the Tyranno Legend. The fact that both these Vanguards both these grade 3s, excuse me, gain crits, they can definitely have a nice good kill range from your opponent. So they could. I've actually ended a few games fairly quickly using these skills. Now Tyranno Legend, he does have the nice secondary skill of just counterblasting 2 Ancient Dragon units in your drop zone damage zone to give himself a +5, so he can potentially swing for 26 crit 2 by himself. Keep in mind though is that if you do boost him and you retire that unit boosting him, he actually loses that boost. So you have to definitely be careful with your setup when you're trying to you know, make that push with Tyranno Legend. So really pretty good card in this deck. And although you are retiring 3 Ancient Dragons, like I said, there are cards in this deck like the starter and another card in this deck that allows you just to you know, not take a huge burden when using these skills. So that's it for grade 3s. And then for grade 2s, you have your 4 10k Ancient Dragons. I'm not going to bother pronouncing some of these names. Just a nice solid 10k beater, stable and consistent in just about any deck. You have your 4 12k attackers, 4 Ancient Dragons, just good solid card. And then you have 3 Ancient Dragon Dino Crowd. Very good enabler in this deck. I was actually considering running 4 of these, just because of how good this card is in this deck, but I just found that early game I just don't like using him too much. But he's a card I definitely like to try and abuse in the deck. What he does is whenever he attacks, you retire 1 other Ancient Dragon unit, and then he gains +5. So of course, combine him with a 7k booster, he can hit for 21, which is a nice good high tier number. So really good effective card. So I think this lineup is pretty simple. I think, like, for the most part, I mean, the Ancient Dragons, I mean, Ancient Dragons is a fairly standardized deck. I mean, there's really not much you can do with it. But I mean, the ratios are very important. Then you have your 4 Ancient Dragon Perfect Guards. Definitely recommend the Ancient Dragon Perfect Guards because you never know when you really have to make that clutch a special counterblast, or you definitely need like that extra Ancient Dragon to enable some skills. So there are some games where I'm very glad that I had the Ancient Dragon Perfect Guard, and he's very cheap. I think he's like $5, $6 or so. I don't know. Prices fluctuate sometimes, but I definitely recommend picking these up as opposed to like using Archbird. Then you have your 4 Ancient Dragon Iguanagor. Definitely, I'd say this is really the most important card in the deck because he's what allows you to fully enable your Ancient Dragon skills without too much cost at all. What he does is whenever he's sent to the drop zone, you can counterblast 1 and bring him back to the field. So that does include him being attacked if he's in the front row, as long as you have to counterblast. But most importantly, he allows you to get some plus plays from your Spinal Driver, because obviously, you know, if you retire him, you draw 2, you revive him back, so it gives you some nice little plus plays. And he's another card you can definitely abuse with the Tyranno Legend, because obviously, you know, if you have 2 of these and you retire both with Tyranno Legend, you can even make a new column as well to initiate another attack. So it's a really good card, and he's another card I like to use with Dino Crowd, because if you put him behind the Vanguard, you swing with the Vanguard first. I'll put this here for visual purposes. And you swing with Dino Crowd and retire this. You can easily leave this open, so you can put him here. And if you have another unit here, well, essentially he became a booster for 2 units by using Dino Crowd. So that's why I was considering running a 4th Dino Crowd for that main reason. So definitely a great enabler in the deck. And like I said, it does take he definitely can see a lot of potential in the hands of a good player who can really be affiliated with the setups that this deck has. So really important card, and the fact he's a 7k booster makes him even better, so really loving this card. And then next you have your 4 K clones for Ancient Dragons, tax for 10 if you have an Ancient Dragon Vanguard, and then he boosts for 7. Really amazing card in these type of Legion decks. And then you have 2 Ancient Dragon Gatling Arrow. I think that's how you say it. Sorry guys if I say it wrong, if I say some of these names wrong. He shares the same skill as Dino Crowd, so he essentially be a 12k attacker. So he could be another card you can abuse with Iguanagor. He's just like an alternative. The fact that he's a 7k is amazing as well. But of course, there's usually other better beaters, of course. But he's just a nice 12k attacker in case you need it. So yeah, pretty much it. And last but not least for triggers, it's pretty simple. You have your 4 Ancient Dragon crit triggers. They can go into Soul to unflip a damage, but I rarely ever do that. You don't really need to do that necessarily. 3 Black Cannon Tigers, so 7 crit. 4 Ancient Dragon draw, and a Margot clone for the 5th draw, so 7 crit, 5 draw, and 4 heal. So just a pretty standard lineup for the most part. I mean, you can run 6 draw, 6 crit, 8 crit, 4 draw. I mean, it doesn't really make a huge difference necessarily. I mean, it's really preference. There's really no like better lineup or so. But I just found 7-5 to always be balanced, especially when I'm not exactly too sure what trigger lineup I like for my deck. So yeah, overall guys, the deck is fairly standardized. I mean, there's really not much room for like unique techs necessarily. I don't play Dark Rex in the deck just because Dark Rex I just found a little too inconsistent for me. And the fact that Dark Rex is not an Ancient Dragon, you can't be able to abuse like your Iguanagore and such, so I just didn't like it. I just thought to keep it simple. Just keep it simple in Standard, because, I mean, this deck is very standard anyway. But yeah, other than that, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed that. As always, leave a comment down below with any questions and concerns you may have. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up on this video. That's always greatly appreciated. And definitely subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Well, on that, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.